I'm joking.
Oh, thank you, Nor.
I'm joking off.
We just vibing.
I'm sorry, did you say you're jerking off?
No, I said
Joking
joking
off.
off.
We didn't say that.
You see the laugh?
You
You see, laughing is just another type of orgasm.
Look. How do clowns get off? They joke off. They bust a gut.
How come when I looked up the Mighty Booty, I got two guys making
Hold on
out?
a second there. You're telling me clowns joke off. I thought they popped the weasel.
Man, having the stream audio and then just having the Discord audio going as well makes it really fucky because it sounds like it's chaos, but really one person is just talking.
Did somebody say chaos?
Chaos.
Chaos!
Kill chaos.
Chaos.
You know something whack? My sisters are now doing that chaos meme.
I've come
Good
to
for
kill
them.
Well, you see, your sister's gotta kill chaos.
Meanwhile, we're being...
Meanwhile, at the Assure Me a Family Mansion.
My sister would
Wonder if
rather
we're
be
gonna
part
lock
of the
any
chaos.
rooms and
She
leave
loves Shadow
everything.
the Hedgehog.
I think we're gonna lock
Wait,
all the rooms
yes,
and leave everything as it is until the police come. What do you think, Con?
1 second.
Wait, oh, wait, you know what? Let's continue.
Alright, let me get a drink first. Sorry.
Now the portal is her friend!
At any rate, we'll lock this room and leave everything as... No.
Thank you, Todd Habercorn.
Cabal on the field. Ive, bring a sword.
Alright. Hang on my eyes. Fuck.
At any rate, we'll lock this room and leave everything as is until the police come. No objections, I take it?
Natsuhi announced it as though she didn't care whether they agreed or not. If anyone had the right to object, it would have been George. It looked as though he'd shed enough tears. George nodded slightly, still facing away from the others, and when he stood up, everyone else agreed, too. Natsuhi still hadn't opened that western envelope of the family head that she'd picked up. But now that they've decided to leave the room, she decided to unseal it in the parlor, where everyone could watch. As soon as they walked out into the hallway to head back to the parlor, some of them immediately felt something out of place. Maybe sensed something strange.
Thanks? Did you notice it too, Maria? Seriously, what's that smell? It's awful.
When everyone sniffed the air, they did notice a horrible burnt smell drifting through the hallway. So that none of them had smelled until then.
I will go quickly to check the kitchen. Sure, I turned the flame off.
After noticing a burnt smell, it was natural that Kumasawa, who had just been using the burner in the kitchen, suspected that her own slip-up had caused it. Kumasawa hastily dashed away.
Go to Kumasawa.
Why? Why?
Do not let her be alone. Yes.
After nodding at Genji's order, Cannon followed after her. He wasn't running, but as he followed her, he tried to search for the cause of the smell in the other directions as well.
Stinks.
It truly is. A stench that makes the nose wrinkle. However, that doesn't mean we can just open a window for ventilation. Oh,
Natsuhi was reluctant to open the window in a situation where self-defense was so important.
Let us run the fan. I do not believe there will be any need to open the window.
George Anarchy, is it okay if I talk to you?
If it's about finding the culprit, then I have no problems.
Then that George managed to climb out of the abyss of sorrow. All that filled his chest now was the quiet flame of hatred towards the culprit, who had stolen the lives of the ones he loved and his beloved parents. The chain for this room was set. From what I could tell by looking at it, I'm positive that it couldn't have been opened from the outside. In other words, this is a perfect closed room.
That does seem to be the case. In the case of the Rose Garden storehouse, they might have sneaked the shutter's key out of the servant room. Or maybe they had a duplicate key. I can imagine many ways he could have done it. But this chain is different. Among generally used locking techniques, a chain is simplest one to create a closed room with. Ugh.
Only a chain will block everyone coming from the outside as long as it isn't physically broken. So, does that mean the culprit wouldn't have gone in or out through the door?
Couldn't. Yeah, that's interesting. Just a few hours ago, I seem to remember everyone making a fuss over how to enter a room without using the door. Back then, we were all losing our cool, wondering how grandfather disappeared from his room. The receipt Aunt Ava stuck on the door on a whim proved that the door had remained sealed. And since Aunt Natsuhi was the only person to enter or exit during that time, she was under suspicion. Aunt Ava proposed a theory about how Aunt Natsuhi might have thrown grandfather out the window, and left by the door herself. But this door was much simpler. It was sealed from the inside by the door chain. The window had also been locked from the inside, and the bodies had been inside the room. This time it really had been, without exaggeration, a true closed room. That's right. If you include grandfather's disappearance, 3 cases have occurred, and all 3 times, the door has been the point of interest. Door. The first was the shutter. There was a key in the servants' room, and if we assume someone knew about that, this can't really be called a closed room. The next was the door sealed by the receipt. However, Aunt Natsuhi entered that room. So if grandfather had left through the window or had been thrown out, she wouldn't have been able to lock the window before escaping. Or like my theory, grandfather could have hidden until the receipt was gone and left the room later. Basically, this door can be defeated with a handful of desperate tricks. In that sense, you can't really call this one a closed room either. And now we have this door sealed with the door chain. Finally, we have to give up. The window, the door, everything had been locked. It was a perfect closed room. The first hadn't been a closed room because everyone could be suspected. Also, I'd like to point something out because we were discussing this yesterday. Is that someone had implied that they tried to launch something through the door and then snipe the people in the room. But judging by this diagram, they literally couldn't have done that unless they tried ricocheting something across the door.
Mm-hmm.
The second hadn't been a closed room because Aunt Natsuhi could be suspected. But this time, no one could be suspected. This is a perfect closed room, because the door chain formed a seal that blocked everyone equally well.
In that case, did the culprit carry out the crime without entering the room? With some method from the outside the room? Yeah.
Good point. Even though the chain makes it impossible to open it wide enough for a person to fit through, you can open in a small crack. Did the culprit knock on the door to make them peer out before attacking them? Wait, am I missing something?
Yeah, you are. If Aunt Ava's body had been lying right next to the door, then it might have been possible. But she was on that bed at the back of the room. And Uncle Hideyoshi was even in the bathroom. Looking from the crack in the door, you couldn't even see them. You couldn't reach them with your hands either. Damn it. It's all useless. I don't have a clue! Something was tugging softly at my sleeve. It was Maria.
Good, it's not psycho mode.
Satisfied?
What do you mean, satisfied?
Oh,
Battler, since you didn't want to suspect any of your relatives, you made a wish, saying you wanted the culprit to be Beatrice, right? Well, Beatrice granted that wish. Just as you asked. She did something that was completely impossible for a human to make you believe in the witch. And now you're complaining? How selfish. Ouch!
I tapped Maria, who was laughing unpleasantly on the head with my fist. Sure. Thanks for granting that wish. That just now is to thank you, and also to teach you to stop laughing when it's inappropriate. More importantly, tell me. There was another mysterious scribble on the door to Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi's room. Was that another magic circle?
That one had a really memorable and characteristic design, so I'd hope you'd at least know what it was. Out!
I don't know, which is why I'm letting you take the credit. Quit whining and explain.
You sure are violent, Battler. I won't tell you if you're too mean. Get it? Ouch! I'll say it, you brutish man. Oh. It's the first magic circle of the moon.
What does it mean? What's the magic circle's effect? What does the Hebrew writing mean?
The words are from the Old Testament, Psalms 107, verse 16. For he has broken gates of brass and cut through bars of iron. This magic circle has two effects. First, it can open a door regardless of which method has been used to lock it.
That sure is convenient. So you're saying they're trying to make it look like they're a witch, because the closed room has a door that can't be opened without relying on magic? And the other effect? Damn, calm, taking notes.
When you're blocked by unopenable doors in all directions, it opens a door. By using it in this difficult situation, it gives you a solution you hadn't even thought of until then. Generally speaking, you receive the powers of observation and discernment, inspiration, and intuition. Beatrice is trying to provoke you, since there's no way lowly humans like Battler could figure out how to open the door.
Okay, good work. So shut up.
Goddamn!
Sounds great. I'll accept this challenge from the witch.
Maria-chan, things like witches and demons don't exist in this world. Someone killed father and mother. I don't know whether that was someone I know or not. But either way, it was definitely a human.
Yeah, but how? How did they reach those two through that crack in the door? It couldn't have been more than 10 centimeters wide.
At any rate, I can hardly stand this stench. Ugh, what in the world could it be?
Canon and
Am I about to
Kumasawa,
die?
who had gone on ahead, realized the smell wasn't coming from the kitchen even before they arrived there. That was because they noticed an even thicker wave of stench rising up from the stairs leading to the basement, which they passed on their way to the kitchen.
The boiler room?
I wonder if there's something wrong with the boiler again.
Those stairs led to the underground boiler room. The mansion's boiler was old and in poor condition. Both of them had witnessed problems with the boiler on several occasions, but they never smelled a boiler belching out a stench like this before. Anchovies. Lamb.
What was that? I'm sorry. What was that sound?
That's the most emotive I've ever seen Canon in my life. He looks fucking shook. The thing they heard from the basement was definitely the sound of the door closing. Kumasawa had phrased it as a question, but since she already knew it, it couldn't be anything else. Kumasawa was so surprised by that sound that her knees gave way yet again, and she cowered. After all, at that very moment, no one could have been in the boiler room. Just a few seconds ago, everyone had been crowded together around Ava and Hideyoshi's room. So who caused the sound of the door closing just now?
It's odd.
After taking a second to sort out the situation, Cannon ran down towards the basement. Since they heard the sound of the door closing just now, and there was no sign of anyone coming up the stairs, the person who closed the door had to be inside the boiler room now. If the boiler room had been a dead end, Cannon wouldn't have rushed in so hastily. But Cannon was a servant, so he knew. There were two entrances to the boiler room, one that opened to the mansion and one that opened to the courtyard. If he didn't chase them now, they might slip away. Kumasawa reached the same conclusion long after Cannon did, but she couldn't let him go alone. If the thing in the boiler room was the culprit, an opponent who had easily killed 6 adults in the first murder, then no matter how Cannon confronted them, he wouldn't be a match. Of course, with this argument, even if Kumasawa joined him, it wouldn't change anything. At any rate, after a delay, Kumasawa decided that she mustn't let Cannon go alone, and she rushed down the stairs. At that time, Cannon was already in the boiler room. The boiler room's characteristic damp heat tormented him. It had always been an unpleasantly smelly and hot place. And on top of that, the room was so full of that horrible stench, which made Cannon feel like he was going to be sick. There was no doubt that this room was the source. In that case, Cannon should have been searching for where the smell was coming from. However, Cannon kept gazing straight forward as he grabbed a hatchet from the tool shelf just to the side of the door. He hadn't stretched out his hand because he wanted a hatchet. He had wanted to grab a weapon. Any weapon. Why? Cannon gazed into the darkness where the naked light bulb couldn't pierce. Then, he answered.
In a roulette, you bet on a number or the colors red or black, vying for a payoff. However, low-risk bets like black and red only offer a similarly low payoff.
The words coming from Cannon's mouth were swallowed up by the darkness. That darkness suddenly started to swirl, glittering.
Fuck.
Thought the stream froze there for a second.
Sky.
No!
It was such a fantastical scene. Golden, sparkling butterflies that hid in the shadows all over the boiler room. Flapped their wings, twinkling beautifully, and gathered in the darkness, disappearing. Cannon continued speaking, directing his words to the darkness as it swallowed the butterflies up. But as the butterflies gathered in the darkness, they, perhaps, probably, no, they would certainly laugh. But Cannon continued to speak without faltering in the slightest.
However, if you bet on something with a low probability, your payoff increases proportionally to the risk. The master called succeeding despite an astronomical risk at miracle, and called the astronomical payoff gained as a result magic. I have no interest in what kind of magic you and the master were seeking when you spun that roulette. But you forgot something. You forgot in the roulette there's a pocket that's neither black nor red.
Roulette has a special pocket called Zero, which means that the house takes everything in certain variants of the game.
Mm-hmm.
This means that all of the coins bet on the table will be swept up, just as though everyone has forfeit.
I set my heart on just one thing. I decided that if Shannon were to be killed and I was left alive, I'd sacrifice my life of mine and bring this roulette of yours to ruin. This isn't one of the Master's rules, and it certainly isn't one of yours. I made this rule myself. I'm not furniture anymore. I am the zero on your roulette!
Cannon's face twisted with humiliation. But his defiance against his own weakness was being ridiculed somehow. Cannon's brow creased even further, and a fierce expression that he'd never shown to anyone appeared on his face. The hand grasping the hatchet was shaking. His sweat became drops which slid downward. The emotion causing Cannon's hand to shake wasn't just anger. However, Cannon suppressed that emotion.
I won't let your words lead me astray again. This is where the demon's roulette ends. Wait another 1,000 years in hell, for your next summoner. Beatrice!
When Cannon raised the hatchet and tried to dive into the darkness definitely sneered. It sneered the courage as if it were vulgar, lazy, futile, and meaningless. Cannon, his hatchet still held aloft, couldn't take another step after that. With a clang, the hatchet that he'd been grasping fell and rolled onto the floor. And following that, with a pair of thuds, Cannon's knees hit, left then right. That hand, which looked like it was trying to catch the sky now that the hatchet has been dropped, gradually lowered, landing on his chest. The other hand did the same. Right there, a handle with a demon-shaped design was buried into his chest. The same type of weapon that had been stabbed into Ava and Hideyoshi's foreheads was in Cannon's chest. Cannon was curled up in anguish, fresh blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. It was makeup too extreme for Cannon's white skin. Around this scene, the glittering gold butterflies danced through the darkness, mesmerizing. It was a beautiful, beautiful dance, a funeral march of tribute, ridicule and contempt for a single boy's self-sacrifice. Cannon has already been prepared for his own death. But although he could do nothing but accept the death he had received, he attempted one last measure of resistance. He grasped the handle of the weapon sticking into his chest with both hands, and gritting his teeth with an acute, unearthly pain, he pulled it out. For only a moment, a bright red spray gushed out. It made an unpleasant bloop sound. It resembled the sound of Cannon's soul as it was sucked into the swamp of the dead.
Technical issues. Please give me a second. It's okay. Son. Someone.
Kumasawa screamed
Grandma yelling.
in the incomprehensible sight in front of her. Cannon was
My
laying
old grandma yelling.
Cannon was laying in a pool of blood. Kumasawa's heart was a complete mess. Ah, what a horrible fate. He wouldn't have been killed if I had been with him. Ah, what incredible luck. If I had been with him, I might have been killed too. As she screamed, her expression was filled with complete confusion, and all the muscles of her face were pulled up, almost though she was smiling while crying. But no one could have made fun of an expression like this.
What is it, Kumasawa? Answer me, Kumasawa.
The first one to dash into the was Natsuhi, holding the rifle. Battler and Genji dashed in after her. Normally this probably would have started discussing the origin of the violent stench filling the boiler room. But after they saw Cannon, who was lying on the ground as if he were drowning in an ocean of his own blood, the stench wasn't important anymore.
Cannon! Answer me! Genji, bring Dr. Nanjo here.
Natsuhi realized that even though Cannon was on the verge of death, he was still conscious, so she sent Genji to get the doctor. Natsuhi, holding the rifle aloft, faced the darkness in the corner of the boiler room and shouted,
Who is hiding over there? Come out quietly. If you don't come out from there, I'll shoot without mercy.
We need light! Natsuhi, let's light them up! Battler, thinking quickly, took a large flashlight from the tool shelf along the door and used the light to cut through the darkness Natsuhi was glaring into. But the light only shone on a mechanical-looking pipe thing in the door. It had been left open to smell a crack, and it was obvious that someone had left there in a hurry. Natsuhi, where's that door go?
Genji, where does that door lead to?
The courtyard.
Like hell I let you get away, you damn bastard! I let out a war cry as he slammed into the door. Cool air from outside suddenly rushed in. There were some thin, rough stairs leading up. Battler ran up them, shouting. Tom, this is you.
Wait, Battler-kun! It's dangerous to be on your own right now.
Natsuki was also rushing up the stairs, chasing after Battler. They were in the courtyard. The courtyard of the mansion had been built strictly for lighting purposes, so it wasn't a very elegant place. Because it was surrounded on all sides, the air was calm and completely undisturbed, and then they could hear the sound of strong winds. There was only the gentle, sorrowful rain. As he ran through the cold and scattered raindrops, dashing up the stairs into the courtyard, Battler looked in every direction. Of course, the odds of him finding a suspicious silhouette was just standing around nonchalantly was pretty much zero. Battler spun, looking all around. He turned again and again. He kept spinning until he almost lost all sense of direction. He prayed that he would see the culprit somewhere in the scenery, but there was no chance. All he saw as he spun was more and more of the mansion's heartless walls and windows. Furthermore, there were 2 entrances in the mansion from the courtyard, and neither of them were locked. Because the courtyard could be entered from outside the mansion, but it has been built without locks. He didn't know which one they had left, though. He had to give up. Battler pounded the wall with his fist, swearing. Fuck!
Son, you mustn't run ahead by yourself. Battler-kun?
Battler pressed his forehead against the wall, which he scratched at with his fingernails as he cried. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi! And now Cannon-kun! You killed a full 6 people! And that wasn't enough, so you had to kill 3 more! Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Eva and Hideyoshi were always kind and fun people. I asked McCann yesterday, but I tried to get along with him just fine. Why did you kill them? Why? Why? You knew! When people die, they don't come back to life again, right? They're gonna quickly sprout up again like bamboo shoots. Why'd you kill them? Why? Why? Ah! Battler was a boy who couldn't understand the feelings of pain and regret in a person's heart. So he cried, with all his strength. Natsuki had always thought of Battler as a frank person, a little surprised to find that he had a delicate side. At the same time, she understood how easily hurt the heart of a young person could be, so she held him.
It's all right. I will definitely protect you, George-kun, Maria-chan, and Jessica. As a mother, and as a representative of the Yoshiromiya family.
Yeah! Ugh! Battler, after stopping on Natsuki's chest, cried for a while, wiped his tears with a bitter smile, as though he had been like that the whole time, trying to appear as though he'd cried more than enough already.
Anyway, let's go back down for now. Protecting ourselves is a higher priority than finding the culprit. Tomorrow the boat will arrive. After that happens, the police will come and everything should be brought to light. There's no way the culprit can escape this island, no matter how much they struggle.
That's right. When the police come, when the seagulls cry, the crime will be solved.
That, you said it!
But for some reason, I felt a slight sense of uneasiness, as if the seagulls would never cry again. That couldn't be true. When the typhoon passes, surely the lively seagulls will return to the harbor again.
Ash?
I returned to the boiler room along with that Natsuki, and told everyone weekly that we hadn't found anything. But that Dr. Nanjo and George Aniki had carried Cannon-kun to the servant room. This room had a first aid kit and a sink, and could apparently function as a nurse's office. Kumasawa-san and Jessica had accompanied them. Stains from Cannon-kun's blood remained on the floor. Judging by the large amount of blood lost and the ruthless shape of the weapon that had fallen carelessly to the ground, I figured that Dr. Nanjo's treatment would probably end in vain. That weapon was doubtlessly the same type that had been struck in Aunt Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi's foreheads. But wait, isn't the demonic design on the handle a little different? Maybe some small difference on that part. Still, as far as their overall shapes were concerned, the weapons were all of the same type. Though it had seemed brutal, we left the weapons stuck in Aunt Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi to preserve the crime scene. This was the first time we were able to have a perfect view of the entire weapon. As we had expected, the weapon was not bladed like a knife, but shaped like an ice pick. Or rather, a thin stake. It had a spiral-shaped pattern, sort of like a drill. Looks like they might have been driven into the heart of a human sacrifice in some demonic ritual. Including the handle, it was 25 centimeters long. Half of that was the stake-shaped part, which was stained with deep red blood. The length of the blood-shaped pick made it clear just now how deeply it must have penetrated into Canon-kun's chest. But Natsuhi and the rest didn't even look at the weapon. Instead stood in front of the incinerator, where the horrible stench was emanating from. They must have dragged it out. Dragged out that thing which had been burning in the furnace. It was still smoldering, sending out dense waves of that awfully unpleasant smell. Genji-san and Maria stared down at it, and Natsuhi probably couldn't stand to look at it directly, so she kept shaking her head, her back to it. Ugh! I thought nothing could surprise me after everything that happened, but this is... Ugh. I stood there for a while, moaning with a rising urge to vomit. The true source of that unearthly stench was a scorched corpse that had been cooking inside the incinerator. The clothes, the surface of the body, and the hair were all hideously burned. The grotesque corpse was in a state where not the face, nor the age, not even the gender could be guessed at. When I thought about it calmly, I realized the corpse appearing at this time could only be one person. It was grandfather, who disappeared that morning and whose whereabouts had been unknown.
I believe it is most likely the master.
I agree. That he would pass away in such a state. It's heartrending.
But is there any proof that this corpse really is grandfather? It's so burnt. It's burnt so black you can't even tell what sex it is.
Battler couldn't. Look at the feet.
Don't mind if I do. Natsuhi, with her handkerchief over her mouth and her eyes averted, pointed and told me to look at the burnt corpse's feet. Huh?
Notice how there are 6 toes on each foot.
Oh, gross!
Huh?
Cool!
You're right. Mr. Genji-san had said there were 6 toes on each foot. Each individual toe had looked so normal in its line that I hadn't noticed.
The master was born with 6 toes on both of his feet. Consequently, the master was entrusted with the revival of the Ushirimiya family.
Polydactyly, by the way.
I've heard that since long ago, cases of polydactyly were common in the Ushirimiya family. It's probably hereditary.
This is a real illness.
It is.
Polydactyly literally meant many fingers. Because of a little mistake by God when the person is born, one of their toes or finger splits in two, and the total number increases. But a big deal isn't usually made out of polydactyly in the world at large. That's because it isn't a disease, it's just something people are born with. It's when they are still babies, at about the time they turn 1 year old, they can be taken to the hospital and given surgery to make them normal. Even a child with polydactyly can be treated before they become aware. They might not even remember it themselves. By the way, it seems that there's a possibility for this to occur in 1 out of every 2,000 babies. So even though it's not usually seen, it isn't that rare at all. Speaking of which, I think Uncle Hideyoshi mentioned something to me long ago. Something about how even Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the man who unified Japan at the end of the Sengoku period, had 6 fingers on one hand. According to Natsuhi, among the many Ushirimiya family heads, the ones most praised for their wisdom had polydactyly. Because of that, when grandfather was born, his relatives were all excited at the thought that he might have become another wise leader. And when the leading relatives all died in the Great Kanto earthquake, it was apparently argued that grandfather should have been the one to restore the family, because of the auspicious signs of birth. If grandfather hadn't disliked his position as the head of the head so much, the 6th toe probably would have been pretty lucky for him. Come to think of it, I've heard about some country where it's believed that people with polydactyly should be treated as gods and revered. That's because the point, but this is beside the point. But it's fairly common in mystery novels for a corpse to be burned to hide its identity. But I guess that in grandfather's case, just toasting him wasn't enough. And grandfather's body was not simply burnt. Like on Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi, the thing that had been stabbed in the Canon-kun's chest, one of those demon ice picks, was stuck into his forehead.
The head's ring is not on his finger.
Here. I wanted to show you.
Fuck. Let me
Old
get
man's
the steam
wish-
spurt
the
real
old
quick.
mage's wish
Oh!
ungranted. This is but one possible result of the gamble he always knew was not in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking about that Beatrice laugh, and I'm wondering, and that's one of my thoughts on why like that one kiki from one of the other notes might have been her,
Mhm.
because she has like a very similar kind of laugh to Maria.
Is there more dead people than alive at this
Wait,
point?
did you notice Cannon wasn't dead?
Yeah, Cannon
Yeah.
isn't dead yet.
My boy ain't out yet.
Oh yeah, they said that he was just barely alive.
Question is, if we've lost this many people this early, how are there 8 chapters to this?
Yeah, I know. It's weird.
Wonder if there's actually a time loop again. No.
So the letter last night was telling the truth. Father would probably be horribly disappointed.
Natsu-san let her head droop and closed her eyes tightly. This room has also become a vital crime scene for us to hand over to the police. We decided we would leave Grandfather's corpse here and lock the room, sealing it. It wasn't clear whether when Grandfather's corpse started burning in the incinerator. Since according to Genji, the strength of the flames hadn't been that strong, the body must have started burning a long time ago. That stench could slowly creep out of the furnace, fill the room bit by bit, eventually pouring out and climbing up the staircase. Putting aside whether he was rare or well done, Grandfather had been brought out, killed, and burned, even though he'd started out locked away in the closed room created by his auto-lock. Probably no doubting this. However, according to Genji-san, the boiler room is usually locked. Possibly that someone outside our group had snuck in and committed the crime was overwhelmingly high. And there was also a good chance this person was walking around with something like a master key. After all, the doors and windows throughout the mansion had been checked. But despite that, the culprit was able to strut around the mansion freely. Does this crime confirm that a 19th person exists? Still the contradiction, since they're trying to tout their existence without ever showing themselves once. Along with Kyrie-san's chessboard theory, I've been using this contradiction to deny the existence of a 19th person. By spinning the chessboard around one more time, the very fact of this crime makes it perfectly obvious that a 19th person exists. Means the existence of a 19th person is even less plausible. As long as that 19th person doesn't show themselves in front of us. If the culprit could get Grandfather out through the door by sealed by the receipt, they could kill Aunt Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi from the other side of the door, sealed by a chain. They could probably even go so far as to create a fictional 19th person through strange tricks and devices. If we still want to believe that a culprit is among the 18, then the list of suspects has grown very short. 4 of us kids, Aunt Natsuhi, Genji-san, Kumasawa Ba-chan, and Dr. Nanjo. One of these people has to be the culprit. Wait, we can't be sure of that. A second ago, we started doubting whether the corpse here was actually Grandfather's, right? Maybe we can think of other bodies in the same way. For example, the first 6 all had their faces horribly smashed. Some of the bodies hadn't kept enough of their faces for us to confirm who they were, but that old bastard, for example, lost his entire face, so the whole thing might have been neatly peeled off. They only figured out which body was which by their clothing and surroundings. Did the culprit prepare a fake body beforehand and alter to make it look like they died? Even though they were actually hiding somewhere after committing the crime? It may sound ridiculous, but it wouldn't be an impossible trick to pull off. It's too early to give them the 19th person. No. Give in to the 19th person. No. This witch.
Maria-chan, you mustn't stare so fixedly anymore. Come on, Batlakuntu. I'm worried about Cannon's condition, and we mustn't remain in a place like this any longer than necessary. Let us return.
Maria didn't go with everyone else, but remained in the boiler room. The thing she was staring at so fixedly probably wasn't Grandfather's body, but the demon ice pick sticking out of his forehead. It was probably the sort of item that an enthusiast couldn't bear to ignore. I tapped her on the head. Hey, Maria. What's Beatrice after? Is it all of our lives?
You good, Con?
Good?
I'm good. Need a drink. Hang on. You know that moment where you choke on your own laughter?
Not really.
I hit more than that. You ever have that feeling where you drink from like a water fountain, a drop of water gets down your trachea or your whatever. It's like fuck, I'm choking on a single drop of water.
Well, yeah, it's because it's in the air hole. The breathing hole.
Put things in the air
Oh,
hole.
my neck. Anyways.
Exactly.
Oh, my neck, ow.
Okay. Beatrice will revive very soon. At that time, none shall be left alive.
How long can you laugh at something like that? Think you're the only one who's safe?
Yes.
Why don't you feel like you're in danger? Why aren't you scared?
Beatrice made a promise. She even said she's gonna take me to the Golden Land. It's a wonderful place where you have no obligations. Everyone's always together, and everyone is always nice to everyone else. I'm looking forward to it. That time will come very soon now.
Glass.
Girl would be a school shooter.
Oh, no glass. Just what kind of person is Maria?
Elementary school shooter, Jesus.
She's a school shooter kind of person.
Jesus Christ.
Damn.
I don't know what Marie was like 6 years ago when she was 3. She was once pure and obedient. A good kid. Then Maria 6 years later and the Maria I knew. Didn't seem to fit together. Just who is she? This witch who calls herself Maria. It's Maria who obstinately believed in this witch. The series of unresolvable crimes is proof that witches actually exist. Every time something occurs that would be difficult for a human, it was a little hard for the rest of us to not believe in Beatrice. It must be an intense pleasure for Maria to see her relatives, who once firmly denied the witch's existence, start acknowledging the witch's existence one by one. Is that why she's in high spirits? Maria, let me ask this one more time. I'll probably answer this the same way anyway, but I'll ask. Yesterday, you were given a letter in the Rose Garden. Who gave it to you?
Oh. Like I said, Beatrice. Battler still doesn't believe.
Maria only repeated what she had already said. Maria met with the 19th person, the witch. Was there really a 19th person? Or did one of the 18 just get her to say that? All that's certain is that Maria has been with the rest of us constantly, has always had an alibi, hasn't done anything suspicious. She's simply overjoyed at being made Beatrice's messenger, and certainly isn't the 19th person. Supposedly. That's right. I wonder what's written in the letter that we picked up in Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi's room. Aunt Natsuhi should still have it with her.
They still haven't read that?
Nope.
Nope.
Have they said why? They just went busy?
There was a disgusting smell. In the end, Canon Code did not regain consciousness.
Blow up the character sheet.
Canon is fucking dead.
No. There goes best boy.
How presumptuous for furniture! Jesus Christ.
And what's with this fucking killer and ice picks?
Eh?
They're not ice picks. They're ritualistic knives.
Oh, they're knives?
Devil weapon. Some kind of devil armor.
Do we? Like,
So I
don't
joined
really
Bone
No,
in
I
the
can't
choir
believe
of my easiest character to voice is dead.
No, I mean, I can't believe I'm making this comparison, but do you remember the shapes of the fucking knife from Silent Hill Homecoming?
No.
No?
Well, that's
Kind
fair
of.
enough.
Like, have they described the shape of this thing? What does this thing
They
look
showed
like?
it in the
Oh.
CG.
Literally, they describe it as an
They're
ice
like-
pick, but it's also like was it cone-like?
Does it have a handle like an ice pick?
Yes, I believe.
Okay,
it is.
so it's like
Yes.
okay, so it's a legitimate pick.
Also, we saw in the CG of Hideyoshi's dead body.
Yeah, but we only saw the head of
He
it. I
also
didn't
called
actually
it
see like the handle.
He also called it a steak.
Because like saying it's like a knife, a steak, and an ice pick are kind of like different things. Kind of.
He's kind of trying to make it as ambiguous as possible as to what it actually sounds like, which is kind of betrayed by the fact that they're CGs, which is why Umineko sometimes works a little bit better when there's like minimal visuals.
Because it just seems like a weird weapon for a witch to use.
Mm.
I guess like an ice pick kind of shaped thing.
Ritualistic dagger, I mean.
I mean, it's an ice pick. They said so. It's like, well, it's not an ice pick, but it's like ice pick shaped. It's just a weird shape to go with.
All right,
Okay.
let's hit it.
Let's
Hit
jam. Even though Dr. Nanjo and the rest did all they could to heal him. Of course, there was very little that could be done on an island like this without medicine or proper facilities. However, Cannon was the only human ever to confront the culprit. If only he could give us some kind of clue. Sorry, my fucking mic keeps falling over. However, at the time they carried Cannon away, it was already too late.
Wait, what carried him away?
Everybody carried him away, like the
Nacho and shit.
people trying to heal him, basically. He's super duper dead.
My sincerest apologies. Without proper facilities, there is nothing I could do about such a serious wound.
No, that's perfectly understandable. Thank you so much for giving it your very best.
Dr. Nanjo should have been sprayed by a violent spurt of blood. So it was easy to imagine the devotion with which he'd been trying to save Cannon-kun's life, up until the last second. Jessica was crouched in the corridor, crying softly. Rob had been taking care of Cannon-kun until the moment of his death. George Aniki tried to approach her with words of comfort. When Jessica pushed him away, he stopped trying to force her to talk and left her alone. Kelly.
Really?
You
Shall
good,
we?
man?
Give him a second.
Alright. Also, in Life General, I posted an image of what
Was
the actual
eating
steak is.
something. I'm sorry. I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. Sorry.
No problem.
And
She doesn't pop up often, so I'm not surprised that
as I
that
say,
she
I
sneaks
had
up on me.
George dialogue right as food has entered my mouth.
A lot of times Nanjo sneaks up on me when I'm not prepared.
Yeah.
If only I hadn't let Cannon-san go alone. I cannot sound sincere with that voice. I have to try something different.
Do not let that
It's all
bother you.
good, dude.
If you had been with him, you would probably have been attacked as well. He foolishly rushed on ahead and paid his mistake.
How can you say it like that? Cannon-kun spotted the culprit and bravely stood up to them. If only Kumasawa had gone with him, the culprit might have been hesitated and chose to run away.
Emotion-filled words that I never thought I'd hear coming from Jessica's mouth tumbled out. Kumasawa, looking truly sorry, could do nothing but hang her head. Jessica.
You shouldn't talk to her now. It's the same for me, and probably you as well, right, Battler-kun? We don't know what's going on, and it feels like our hearts are going to split open.
There were tears in George Aniki's eyes again. Seeing Jessica break down and crying probably brought back the pain of losing his parents. I'd done my crying all at once, so I didn't feel like crying anymore. However, I understood how great the pain in their hearts was.
It's okay, Jessica. You'll be able to meet Cannon again soon.
Stop it. I don't need you trying to console me like that.
Beatrice will resurrect the dead and even love that has been lost. So you'll definitely be able to meet him soon. Then everyone will be able to live in peace.
So the one who killed Cannon Kun is this Beatrice who supposedly gave you that letter yesterday. Where is she? Where is she hiding? I'll find her, and I'll tear her apart. Tell me, you know who the culprit really is, don't you? Who do you know, and what are you hiding? Tell me, damn it!
Milady, please stop.
Beatrice exists! Exists!
Damn it, let go of me, Kenji-san!
I'm going to fight this child now.
Maria knows who the culprit is! And she's hiding their identity, even though she knows! She must be telling them what they're doing, guiding them as they kill us!
Jessica, be silent.
Jessica grabbed Maria. Kenji tried to stop her, but Jessica could not be calmed. The next thing I heard was the sound of Aunt Natsuki slapping Jessica's face. After that, only Jessica's sorrowful sobbing voice resounded throughout the hall.
Maria-chan. I know there's no way you're the culprit. You've been with us since the beginning, and there was no time for you to communicate with any culprit. So I want you to tell me something. This Beatrice who handed you the letter yesterday, who was she?
Those words seemed kind. Clearly showed that George still had some remaining doubts about Maria. He didn't actually grab at her. However, he felt exactly the same way that Jessica did. Anaki. I asked her the same thing a second ago. Her answer was the same as before.
I want to hear it from Maria's mouth. Who is Beatrice?
Even if I told you, you wouldn't believe anyway. So there.
What do you mean by that? Could it be the culprit someone we know well? And you're keeping silent because you're covering for them for some reason. Who gave you that letter?
I got it from Beatrice. I'll say it no matter how many times you ask. I got the letter from Beatrice. Giorgio-ni-chan, do you refuse to believe in Beatrice because she's not an opponent you can hit? You want to turn your feelings of helplessness into violence and beat someone up. So you won't be satisfied unless your opponent is a human you can hit. So even if I tell you the truth, you won't accept it. So it's pointless for me to tell you. You won't believe. But I'll keep on saying it. Because it's true. Beatrice exists. The door to the Golden Land will soon be opened. I'll go there. Beatrice promised. In that world, Mama is nice, and Papa is with us, and is also nice. I want to go there right away. Everyone is afraid of Beatrice. But that's only natural. So calm yourselves. Beatrice said so herself. By the time the typhoon has passed, I'll have ended everything, she said. Get it out!
Maria, I don't mind you being talkative, but let's leave it at that for now. I bet this is all a pretty happy situation for you since you're going on about how witches exist. You keep that to yourself for now. I try to force that on other people.
Oh.
I know I've been creeped out by this girl for a while now, but there really is something wrong with her. Don't you think so too, Battler? Inji-san? Come on, back me up here! Kumasawa-san? Ugh, what about you, Mom? Maria knows who the culprit is and she's hiding it! Okay, maybe she hasn't done anything directly, but hear me out. But she's definitely working with the criminal. She has to be! That's right! She's a spy! We can't let her stay with us any longer.
Maria-chan, you must realize there are times when indiscreet discussion is best avoided. If you keep adding oil to the fire, even I will get very angry.
And Natsuhi glared at Maria with frightening eyes. Maria was used to Aunt Rose's loud style of scolding, but she apparently hadn't built up a resistance to Aunt Natsuhi's quiet sort of scolding. She shrugged and kept her mouth shut. A desolate feeling filled the room. Those though things would just get more complicated if anyone spoke. How many people have already died? 6 people in Dad's group. After that, both Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi, Canon-kun, and Grandfather. There are a whole 18 people on this island, supposedly. And 10 of those people have been killed. That's more than half of us. And right now, there's absolutely no proof that the remaining 8 people will be safe.
At any rate, this is no time to quarrel. Now that we are certain the culprit can enter and leave the mansion at will and strike out of nowhere, we must give our undivided attention to surviving until tomorrow.
I agree strongly with Natsuhi. We can figure out who the culprit is at our leisure tonight. For now, though, we're better off finding a place to barricade ourselves in. I said this, I pointed out the clock to everyone. It was already 8 o'clock at night. We'd been receiving shocks over and over again since the early morning, and our bodies and minds were both completely tired out. There's still a long time until tomorrow. We needed to find some place to barricade ourselves in so we could rest our bodies and get even the smallest amount of relief.
I agree. Everyone is already pushing their mental and physical limits, myself included.
Pussing.
Were you about to say pussy?
No, I think I said pussing, but it's like Nanjo is very hard to do.
Only do have it on the mind.
It's easy to do if I have prep time, but if I don't know who's coming, boy, it's hard to do on the spot.
Dr. Nanjo always ready to fuck.
I mean, have you seen his cock in the original sprites?
They love the feeling of the mustache.
What?
I
I
have
thought
to
he
get
had
it.
diabetes.
My man's got
No,
some
hold on.
schmeat.
It's
Again.
same with like I know it's always like a jump, but it's the same with Kumasawa in the way that I have to get into just the right throat motion for to do old lady voice.
Look at this old man's cock.
He posted the old sprite. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
My doctor be packing some heat.
You know, in boys love novels, he'd actually be called a bear.
Yo, yeah, put the cock on screen!
Would this be a bear? I thought like bear was like really hairy then.
Oh, Christ.
I really hope that's okay on stream.
Okay, just go!
I believe it would be wise to take that into account as we move forward.
That's right. There's a high probability that the enemy's got the equivalent of a master key.
With Shannon, Canon-kun, and Goda-san holding master keys.
Yes. They were supposed to have them on their person during work.
We didn't want to disturb the scene, so we didn't investigate that closely. We can't eliminate the possibility that someone stole a key from them. No taken. Oh, what's the word for nothing?
Sorry, I'm still taking notes.
Fine, no problem.
In the first place, we know the culprit may have visited the servant room at some point to unlock the garden shed shutter. It's conceivable that they obtained a master key from there early on.
There are many servants serving the Ashurmia family. Because of that, there were several master keys. Furthermore, even every time one employee started or finished working, the keys were passed between servants. And we had to acknowledge that this has probably gotten a bit sloppy at times in the past. Even if they borrowed a bundle of keys from the pocket of one of the murdered servants, in a safe place that those keys couldn't open. Just give him a second. Just give him a second.
But yeah, so whenever they said ice pick, I was thinking ice axe, like the thing with the handle that you use to help climb.
I think those are called climbing axes.
I've seen them. I've looked them up, and it's like ice pick,
They
ice
go by
axe.
many names.
Done having my mic muted. Jesus. Because of the nature of the job, we have been entrusted with keys to all of the rooms. All of them in the mansion and in this house.
So in other words, no matter where we hole up and lock ourselves in, it'd just be pointless. Fine. Who cares about locking up?
I am the very mortal of Omega Modern General of Information, Vegetable, Animal, and Mineral. I know the kings of...
Stop.
Oh, sorry, shit. I was practicing. I didn't know I was on. Oh shit. That's how I'm planning to practice Nanjo, is doing that. I didn't know I had pushed to talk. I didn't know I was even pushing down the button. Shit!
Oh, Jesus, it's fine.
Sorry for ruining it.
That is actually kind of funny.
This is gonna get clipped.
I didn't even know I didn't even know I was holding down the push to talk button.
No, you were killing it though.
It's okay. Everyone had their hot.
Alright, but come on.
Moments.
Everyone gets one, moving along.
Move along, please.
Fine. Who cares about locking up? You're gonna come. Bring it on, damn it! I'll beat you at your own game. Catch me, bitch. How about that?
Oh, God.
No.
Jessica, that meme died 5 years ago.
Shut the fuck up, man.
The enemy won't approach us from the front. I don't know about the first 6, but if we look at what happened to my parents in Canancun,
Hey.
and even grandfather, the enemy has only gone after isolated people. They don't have the power to assault all of us openly in a secure room.
That's right. As the Ganaki says. Maybe on Natsuhi's rifle can serve as a deterrent to stop them from attacking.
I hope that is so, but
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Hmm?
Hold up a second there. Was there some dialogue in there that clicked too fast?
No?
No.
Oh,
Just
Sure.
ellipses from Maria.
okay.
Maria, I know you want to say something, but keep it to yourself and stay quiet for a while. Maria probably want to say something about how witches weren't afraid of things like guns. But if she want to say it out loud, the atmosphere around here would start getting pretty edgy. I noticed and decided to put a stop to it.
Oh, if I may. I do know of just one place that cannot be entered, even with the servant's key.
Where is that?
That would be the master's study.
I'm against this. I don't even want to think about going in Grandfather's creepy room. You don't know if he has cum socks.
What?
How many
Lady,
keys can
I
you...
can promise you he does not.
All officially
Old man
branded
doesn't
with the
have
one
cum
wing
socks,
eagle.
honestly.
Sorry, I have,
The socks are
I've been
officially
going
branded
on
with the one wing eagle as
Ends up
well.
lately.
What?
How many keys can get access to that
What?
room?
Have you been watching?
Oh.
You know
He's
what?
more
We're
of a
just
hang
gonna.
in the sheets
You know
type
what?
guy.
We're just gonna sandbag this. Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many keys? I've said this already,
Hold
but
up a sec.
how
Guys,
many?
there's a bot in the chat on Twitch.
Oh,
Oh.
there is.
Well, time to
Dispose of
kill a
them!
motherfucker live on stream.
Bot buddy, no!
There are two. I always have one on my person. The other was held by the master himself, but just now I found this on the corpse in the boiler room.
Genji-san took a handkerchief out of his pocket and opened it, showing us the burnt and filthy study key. Then he showed it alongside his own key, which had once lent to Natsuhi.
Normally, it would have been proper to leave the master keys for the police. But, because of the master's orders to protect the safety of the study, I borrowed it for the time being.
I see. Which means that Kenzo-san's study is the only place where we can be safe.
Bingo. It would appear that way. I don't even want to think about being shut up in this strange room all night. But it appears we must acknowledge that his room is safer than anywhere else right now.
Even though Grandfather locked himself up in that safe room, the culprit brought him out and killed him. We can't be certain that it's truly safe.
According to your theory, Grandfather cleverly found a way around that receipt trick and left a room of his own free will. If so, the room might be a good place to barricade ourselves in after all.
You're too optimistic, Aniki. However, at the same time, I thought he brought up a pretty interesting point. After all, this gives us a chance to question the enemy, the witch herself, about how the sealed door had been opened. If we assume the culprit would use some techniques to kidnap Grandfather from his study, they'd have to show us the same trick again if they wanted to assault us in the study. Then it gives us a chance to make the culprit prove how they did it right before our eyes. If she's really a witch, we'll be forcing her to use her little magic trick to open the door right in front of us. But that's probably impossible. If you spin the chessboard around, it's obvious that the culprit is acting in a way that'll make us think they're a witch. If she really is a witch, all she's gonna do is appear in front of us and wow us with a colorful display of magic. Since she's avoiding doing that, everything must be the work of a fake witch who wants us to think that she's real. Therefore, a culprit who used a technique other than magic to defeat the closed room couldn't open the door before our eyes. Is Grandfather's room big enough to stuff 8 people in?
Yes.
Damn.
There is a bed, a sofa, and blankets. So while it is not luxurious, it will be more than suitable for spending the night. There is also a sink, a bathroom, a refrigerator, and a liquor cabinet.
Whoa! That's incredible. Isn't that weird? You're saying you built another house inside his house? That's pretty cramped for the last house of someone like our grandfather, who bought a whole island and realized all of his dreams.
That's right. After some point in time, Father probably couldn't feel at peace in any other place, even inside the mansion.
We always sneered about how he shut himself up in there, and this time we're the ones who are gonna get shut up ourselves. Ha!
Jessica spat the words out.
Jessica-chan, it sounds like you'd rather go search for the culprit than stay shut up somewhere.
Of course, I don't think we'd be able to find them even if we just started searching on our own. Ugh. In the end, we can't do anything but wait. Then it doesn't matter where we wait, does it? I'm not gonna run away or hide. Why don't we just take it easy in the parlor, watching TV or something while we wait for this Beatrice-sama to appear?
It's perfectly fine if she doesn't appear. There's no need for us to be the ones to expose the culprit.
Well said. We shouldn't take needless risks before the police arrive.
Thank you, Dr. Nacho. I think we should move to Fauna's study. True, we have no proof that it's safe since Father was taken out of there. However, I can't deny the possibility that, as Bather-kun reasoned, Grandfather left the study of his own accord and was attacked outside.
A while back, I proposed this strange theory that as a stopgap measure. As Eva said, even though the trick would be possible, I couldn't explain what motive could have made Grandfather sneak out of his own study in such a troublesome way. Plus, Grandfather couldn't even have used that trick unless he knew that the receipt was wedged in the door. Aunt Eva hadn't pointed out the last part, but it's clear how absurd that theory was. Does that mean the sealed door formed a closed room, just as Aunt Eva claimed? Is it undeniable fact that Aunt Eva was the culprit? Aunt Natsuhi was the culprit. Fuck. Bleh. If Aunt Eva was here now, she'd probably make that claim openly and blow my strange theory away. But anyway, had to admit that a room with both a bed and a toilet that all people could be shut up in, and with only 2 keys, both of which were gathered here, had to be the safest place in the mansion right now. At the very least, I figured this would be better than just staying shut up in the parlor and hoping nothing would go wrong. But wait, have we only been safe because we've been shut up in the parlor? What if leaving that room and moving to an unexplored location is actually more dangerous? Ah, it's useless. It's useless. It's all useless! My frenzied head is about to break out in a fever. If I keep spinning the chessboard around, right and wrong will keep switching places over and over. I won't be able to believe in anything. If the culprit is one of the 18, I want to believe in Beatrice. I want to start believing in Beatrice. I want to start wanting to find the culprit amid the 18. If that keeps spinning around forever, in the end, my thoughts won't have taken one step from where they started. How far back in the past was it that Kirie-san taught me about chessboard thinking? That concept of examining the situation by spinning it around and thinking from the enemy's side. I remember being so interested by it back then. I used it as my guide to all thinking. All my thinking, yeah. By the way, Kirie-san was Dad's co-worker back then. I never dreamed that she'd someday be added to our family. Didn't Kirie-san tell me something once? I get the feeling that she once said that, while the chessboard thinking was one way to look at things, it certainly wasn't all-powerful. And it wouldn't be good to rely on it too much.
Chessboard thinking is my own interpretation of something called game theory, which I read about in a book long ago. It's a very interesting subject, so you should tackle it yourself when you get into college, Batler-kun.
I really want to try it. If I could study and perfect my chessboard thinking, it'd be fun to read into any opponent's moves, wouldn't it?
Sorry about that. Yawned again.
But you can't blindly believe in it. Game theory is a very deep and complicated subject. Chessboard thinking is just my interpretation that skims the surface of game theory. In order to thoroughly read your opponent's moves like you're imagining, you need to study your opponent. Additionally, while chessboard theory is convenient and practical, it isn't perfect. It has many weak points despite its convenience.
Weak points.
Yes. Chessboard thinking is founded upon game theory. When you thoroughly investigate game theory, it boils down to math. Do you know what the weak point of math is? It's noise.
In math, when you write 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, that process will always result in 1 plus 1 equals 2. No matter how many billions of years pass. Nothing more, nothing less. That's because there's absolutely no noise mixed in. But, for example, unlike math, the Japanese language has noise mixed in. Kanji are a good example. Old kanji and new kanji are slightly different, which represents an introduction of noise created by the changes between the time periods. Isn't history the same? There are dozens of policies that seem foolish in the modern era, but were meaningful at some point in the past. Because the rules of chess are fixed. When a pair of experts are discussing one particular layout, it's possible they could have reached the same conclusion whether they're from 100 years in the past or 100 years in the future. However, if the rules of chess had gone through massive changes over time, it's possible the discussion about the same layout would have changed as well.
That's right. Events in the world of humans are normally full of noise. Aren't human emotions that way? Even if the exact same thing occurs more than once, there's no guarantee that humans will always act in a predictable fashion. The moment we try to use a math-based theory to predict someone's actions, we must be aware that our theory has built-in weaknesses and limits. Simply put, chessboard thinking is extremely weak against noise and fickleness, as well as mistakes or incorrect knowledge.
That's right. Kyrie-san definitely said that. Chess has always been a game where both sides play by the same rules and fight with the same conditions for victory. That's why it's possible for both sides to predict the other's moves. It's possible to read your opponents because you can always suppose they'll make the best moves they can find. What if your opponent is fickle or a bit tired? Makes a move that can hardly be called the best. Or what if the game actually has a special rule? Some unknown thing that only the enemy knows about and can use. In fact, what if the opponent actually has some goal other than victory? Think from your enemy's perspective. That's the basis of chessboard thinking. Which means, if you misread your enemy, the answer you draw from this process will be complete rubbish. Useless. So far, I've only used chessboard theory to guide several vague bits of information about the culprit hiding behind this case. Or so I think. However, I don't know anything about the culprit. Am I just playing around in a labyrinth of thought? If Kyrie-san were here at a time like this, she'd probably be able to notice something with her much, much sharper thinking ability. Till the very last moment, Jessica rushed and resisted moving in the grandfather's study. But
This
in
is
the
a
end,
murder.
Aunt Natsuhi persisted, and we decided to move there. Everyone was completely wrapped by paranoia now. Kumasawa-san had prepared dinner at one point, but during the time we were discovering the deaths of George Anaki's parents, both the kitchen and the parlor had been left empty. Someone suggested the food might have been poisoned while we were gone. Because of that, we were unable to even touch the food that Kumasawa had taken the trouble to make for us. The manner in which the first 6 were killed was still unknown, but it certainly could have been poison. Certainly. This would allow even a single person to carry out the murder of 6 large adults. Furthermore, this idea made it easy to imagine there being only a single culprit, one who would be afraid of Aunt Natsuhi's rifle. This is very good for our emotional stability. But the fatigue and hunger were even harsher than we'd imagined. Then Kumasawa-san made a proposal and we all went together to the kitchen. There we gathered some canned food and some other things that'd be hard to poison and to take in with us. All of Kumasawa-san's efforts to reward us with just a little dinner on that savage day regrettably came to nothing. The food piled up on the serving cart looked just a little sad. We all started climbing the stairs. Aunt Natsuhi, who was in the lead, We all started in the darkness and with both eyes and the barrel of a gun. Once we dragged ourselves up to the 3rd floor, just as Natsuhi had warned us of beforehand. There was a mixture of chemical smell and a sickly sweet aroma, a stench in the air that felt like it was eating into our heads. I see. This kind of stench would probably give you a headache if you were shut in with it for the whole night. I know it's a little late, but I'm with Jessica. I vote against going into Grandfather's study. I felt like the stench was floating out from this magnificent door. Also, something I'd like to point out that isn't actually shown in the original one is, hey, look, there's scorpions on the door handle.
Oh!
Holy hell.
It is the door to this forbidden study, which should defend against any who would enter. While Genji-san unlocked the door, Maria stared at the door and the doorknob with great interest. Oh, she's gonna talk about it anyway.
Incredible door.
It looks old and strict like it'd stop any jokes cold. A perfect door for Grandfather's study.
The power to ward off spiritual menaces is strong here. Beatrice probably couldn't open this door.
Oh? What does that mean? Maria pointed at the doorknob. A scorpion crest. No, a design like a magic circle arranged around a scorpion was inscribed there. That design. That's right. Isn't it just like those keychain charms Maria gave Jessica and me yesterday?
The 5th magic circle of Mars is a strong ward against magic.
Sorry, taking notes.
No taken?
Yeah.
No problem.
That's an important note, I bet.
Additionally, this magic circle was very diligently constructed and is full of power. Such a magic circle can be quite troublesome to beings of magic like Beatrice.
Isn't that comforting? Are saying we can escape even Beatrice's clutches in this room? Our little witch here sure is reliable.
Then how did Beatrice get Grandfather out?
Just as Battler reasoned. Beatrice can't go inside. However, she has both magic and familiars. Using them, she might have been able to get Grandfather to leave the study of his own accord.
Ah, I've read about that in manga.
Oh boy.
I've seen a bunch of scenes where vampires were frightened of crosses so they couldn't get close. But their familiars were just fine, so they made their familiars attack.
Those scorpion keychain charms I gave you yesterday also had the 5th circle of Mars on them. The power dwelling within them was weak, but they should be enough to protect you until we leave the island. Although it sounds like you've lost yours, right?
Scorpion keychain charms.
Yeah. The charm I gave you yesterday was something I got from Maria. I heard it would repel magic if you put on your doorknob, and at the time I thought maybe it'd be better if you had it.
Is that so? I thought it was an odd thing for you to be carrying around.
Natsuhi put that on her doorknob?
Yes. Last night, after hearing about it from Jessica, I hung it from the doorknob on the inside of my door.
Natsuhi? You're really fortunate. If you did that, Beatrice probably couldn't even lay a finger on you yesterday. I think Beatrice must have been really annoyed.
Beatrice? Annoyed? Couldn't lay one finger? Natsuhi thought back on the eerie scribble she'd seen this morning. as though someone had been tearing on the outside of her door with blood-soaked hands, and gasped in surprise. Could it be this witch who called herself Beatrice tried to enter through the door to Natsuhi's own room? The magic repelling charm had been hanging from the inside. She couldn't break through the door, so she was annoyed. So she scratched at it.
Quit it, don't talk about that. Witches don't exist. The culprit does. And they're a human just like us. If you need proof, why don't we dice her up and see if her blood's red? Damn it. Ugh, damn it. How could you do that to Cannon? Ugh.
Genji unlocked the door. 8 people entered Kinzo's study. And only one may stand.
8 go in, 1 comes out. 8 go in, 1 comes out.
Heaven or
Don't
hell.
jinx it.
Grandfather's study. I had rumors about it beforehand, so I wasn't that shocked. He had done nothing more than fortify it thoroughly with his occult hobbies. If Grandfather's hobby had been chasing after pop idols, these walls might have been buried beneath idol posters.
That's a disturbing image.
Even if I don't understand it, I didn't realize that this room was a bundle of all of his pastimes. Even so, I couldn't help but remain dumbfounded by the smell of his creepy medicine, and the sweet stench that seemed to melt in my head. Stench.
Is there a weird stench in this room?
Maybe we'll find some withams in this room.
Fuck you.
When the door was closed, it automatically made a clunk. I see. This is the auto lock that's activated whenever the door is closed. There were only 2 keys that could open this door from the outside, both of which were in this room. In other words, it had become a closed room. The shutter, the receipt, the chain, and now the auto lock. This 4th door had the most magnificent lock yet. This was doubtlessly a closed room. Just to make absolutely sure this room was secure, we checked all of the ways in or out. The window was tightly locked. That should have been enough, but just in case, we tried knocking all over the walls. After all, we had talked about there being a hidden door in this room, but we couldn't find anything suspicious. Grandfather's study was very large. Even though we called it a study, it wasn't really a single room. It could be divided up into 4 basic sections: a study room, a bedroom section, a toilet/bathroom section, and a section for cooking that had a sink. I see. The study really does have enough in it to live in. Now I see how Grandfather could live his whole life in this room without ever leaving. It seemed Grandfather wasn't in the habit of watching TV, because there's no television or a radio in this room. You can't do anything except pass the time listening to the sound of rain. Till tomorrow morning. Dr. Nandra looked closely at this chessboard that sat on the table in front of the sofa and muttered. It was apparently the partly finished chess match he'd been playing with Grandfather until yesterday. The black had the white pretty well cornered. It looked like checkmate would be reached within a few moves. The last part of the endgame. Even though checkmate had almost been reached, the endgame had been rushed, and in the end will never be completed.
Kinzo-san, it seems we weren't able to see this match through after all.
Dr. Nonjo.
I was Kinzo-san's friend for a long time, but I never knew about more than that half of him. I believe 2 Kinzos existed, a wise one and one trapped by some madness. I never understood anything about him.
Really?
Okay. Actually, when it came to Beatrice-sama, it seemed like his whole personality changed.
In the direction of Kumasawa-san's upward gaze, a portrait of Beatrice could be seen. It wasn't massive like the one hanging in the entrance hall, but small, made for this room. Grandfather probably spent every day in this room, and so much of his time, talking to the witch in the portrait. Who was Beatrice to grandfather in the first place? Right now you couldn't just explain it away by saying it was a story made by the parents to frighten children away from wandering into the forest. Well, eating the canned food we brought in from the kitchen. We talked together about who Beatrice was. Whether the culprit was Beatrice herself or someone pretending to be her. Whether they were a witch or a human, that was beside the point. The one in the portrait was strongly related to the roots and backgrounds of this case. You couldn't talk about this case without talking about her.
That's right. Mom, you picked up the culprit's letter in Aunt Ava's room, right?
Yes. I still haven't opened it. Let's give it a try.
Natsu took out that western envelope. Genji-san pulled a paper knife out of a drawer in a study desk and handed it off to her. Watching her open it, George Aniki grimaced slightly. After all, it was a letter left at the site where his parents had been murdered. There was a good chance its contents would say something unbearable to Aniki. Aunt Natsu also seemed to realize that. She glanced over the contents first without reading it aloud. We were a little frightened that she might grimace after reading something shocking, but she just frowned unhappily.
What does it say?
There's one unpleasant sentence. It must be trying to provoke us.
Natsuhi, after deciding that the contents could be shown to the children, said it openly on the table. Everyone stared at it at the same time.
Praise my name. What the hell?
I believe that's been added to the tips. That's literally all it says.
That's annoying.
It's probably Beatrice declaring herself the victor. Damn it.
I bet you're hoping for another weird magic circle would show up.
It wasn't a magic circle. But my expectations haven't been betrayed.
What could it mean? I wonder if she wants us to tout her own existence.
That seems reasonable. With this letter, we now know that the author of last night's letter is the culprit. I think the identical envelope is more significant than what is written here.
Without a doubt. This is the type of envelope and sealing wax the Master would use.
Kelly.
Oh. Don't know what's going on anymore. The first time I've seen anything like this since I started working with the Shiromira family.
Going by last night's letter, Beatrice is claiming to be grandfather's oldest confidant. Grandfather often said the same thing in the past, right? With the Genji-san and Kumasawa-san who nodded together. Guess that means you two know more about her than anyone except grandfather. Did you tell us?
For a long time, I've purposely avoided this topic. But now that it has come to this, I can no longer do so. Genji, tell us everything you know.
Genji-san didn't answer.
Fuck!
Did he remain silent despite his knowledge, or did he know nothing at all? Nothing at all. Still, I had a good guess. The ghost story of the witch Beatrice had long been defied among the servants.
Deified.
I've been very close to grandfather, and his occult hobbies.
Stupid 60 Flanders gif!
So there is a good chance that he'd been indoctrinated with even weirder things, and has increasingly come to deify the witch. As grandfather's most trusted servant who had sworn loyalty to him, he might have been the most influenced by the illusion of the witch that grandfather had created. There was only one reason for Genji-san to remain silent. He could speak, though it would definitely cause a backlash, Better that if he kept his mouth shut. And it wasn't like we'd believe him anyway. Something along those lines. A short while ago, Maria had been more than willing to speak bluntly and unrestrainedly, and entered a scuffle with Jessica. It was natural for Genji-san to keep his silence.
Was she father's concubine?
His concubine. That could be possible. For ordinary poor people, polygamy isn't only viewed as negatively from a moral perspective. It's also an unmaintainable financial situation. But that isn't the case for the very rich. It's possible for them to have another lover in addition to their real wife. It's not the possibility that grandfather has had another woman in his life besides a grandmother.
Maybe. When grandmother was alive, I hear she was pretty sure of it. She thought he was cheating on her. I always thought she meant grandfather's imaginary witch.
Now this is getting really interesting. You told me, didn't you, Genji-san? You said Beatrice had been working for grandfather since before the mansion was finished.
I heard that the construction of the mansion was completed in Showa 27, 1952.
That means this person called Beatrice was in a relationship with grandfather since at least 30 years ago.
Could that concubine of 30 years ago? Maybe a relative or hidden child with that person. Hold some kind of grudge and be planning revenge? I see. This is starting to sound like your standard Western mansion mystery. Fucking S's, man. Goddamn.
It's a filthy topic, but the easiest line of reasoning to accept. What do you think, Genji?
The master surely had feelings of deep love for her. There can be no mistake that he cared for her more than his late wife.
Damn. Who is this person called Beatrice? And what's she doing now?
I have heard that she passed away before the mansion was completed.
Huh?
She's already dead?
Yes. The master was deeply stricken by grief at her loss, and devoted himself to the art of black magic as a means to revive her. The master loved Beatrice-sama from the bottom of his heart. It was that madness which drove him to do all that you see here.
As Genji-san said this, he spread his arms as though asking us to look at the room, filled with the signs of grandfather's madness. We're all at a loss for words. Normally black magic seems like it'd just be creepy, and it's really hard to imagine why someone might be so entrapped by it, and enraptured by it. Since Kinzo was just an eccentric who had restored the Ashurmia family amidst his madness, nobody had tried to understand him. The only thing on grandfather's mind had been the loss of a beloved woman, and his inescapable sorrow. Earlier this room had seemed creepy, but in an instant it had changed into something that we could understand completely. Dun, dun. The creepy books, the magic circles, the medicine, all of it. It all existed simply because he wanted to revive the face of a single woman who left this world over 30 years ago. Roller.
Master only told me about Beatrice Sama's story once. He was very drunk. I have forgotten the details. Was deep love to make a woman like Alice.
When Kinzo-san succeeded the headship of the Yoshirimiya family, his marriage to his late wife had already been decided by of the few surviving family elders.
So...
Oh.
He was forced into a marriage with some woman who would benefit the Ashiramiya family.
That is correct. Kinzo-san was installed at the head who would revive the family and had to bear the entirety of that heavy responsibility. I do not pretend to know the details of when or where Kinzo first met her.
Guess it'd be rude to say any more than that. That was when Grandfather truly fell in love for the first time. Just how deep was his affection for her. It was easy to see just by looking around us. It was covered with piles upon piles of things having to do with black magic. And Grandfather spent every day shut in here, immersed in his research and isolated from the world outside, never regretting 1 minute of it. You can only recognize the depths of Grandfather's love for Beatrice.
I had it all wrong, Genji-san.
What do you mean by that?
I've always thought that maybe you servants believe blindly in the witch because you were influenced by Grandfather's creepy black magic hobby. But that's not how it was, right?
But acting as though Beatrice's soul had at least been restored. Existed on this mansion. They might have hoped to soothe Grandfather's heart. With eyes closed and expressions of one remembering something from the distant past, Genji had broken his long silence. In making that confession, he probably felt like he was betraying his one and only master in the most serious way, even though that person was already dead. Beatrice was revived as a witch, and she is in the mansion even now. That was his mantra. He had believed it. He had made people believe it. And Genji would take that with him to the grave. This might have been the last service he could offer up to his master. The legend of the witch. The mysterious tale of Rokenjima that was still whispered among the servants. Its true nature was a sad lie. No. It was an act of kindness towards Grandfather who had lost the person he loved above all else.
I remember denying the witch's existence in front of Father on multiple occasions. Now I finally understand how much that must have wounded him.
Right now, I can understand very well. If I thought I could revive Shannon using black magic, I'd immediately become the next owner of this room and start researching.
Ow! Touching all kinds of things here today.
Anarchy. I should have tears drip from George's eyes. Maybe his tears were infectious. Tears rose to Jessica's eyes too, and she sniffled.
Beatrice has said it. Very soon she will be able to revive people. You'll be able to meet them, she said.
Very soon, the door to the Golden Land will be opened. The promised land that glitters gold. Souls of all the dead will be resurrected, along with the love that has been lost. Then I will sleep in a world of peacefulness for all time. Did she say that? That Beatrice who gave you the letter.
You don't believe, do you?
If only Grandfather were here. I'm sure he'd be happy. I'm sure he'd be jumping for joy now that Beatrice is about to be revived. In that case, I believe. If Grandfather gave up half his life for this research, trying to resurrect the soul of the woman he loved and spending the rest of his life believing, I'll believe too.
That were...
When you love a single woman for so long, the people around you catch on to it, and it becomes the truth. Maybe you could have said that they're just being polite for the sake of your feelings. But right here, now, I like to call that magic.
That isn't just being polite. It really is magic. She's a witch. Looks like nobody can see Beatrice after all.
Some time passed. Listen to the sound of the rain. Consider what kind of love and madness was to possess the owner of this room, as he spent half of his life here.
If you ask me as a woman, then while I'd like to be understanding of father's feelings of true love, it did leave mother in an awkward position.
I agree. Cheating is cheating, no matter what you do or call it. No way to make it pretty. There's no such thing as a work wife.
Yeah, that's right. Gotta feel sorry for grandmother.
So, have there been any rumors about a child between Beatrice and grandfather?
The keyword Beatrice has been hidden in every corner of this case. I suspected some relative of hers.
No. I've heard nothing like that.
There's one memento of his most beloved person. He surely would have given him all of his affection. Since he ended up immersing himself in black magic instead, maybe we should assume that there was no such child.
Come to think of it, that reminds me of a rumor I heard. You know it, right? That story about how grandfather heavily supported an orphanage called the Fukuin House?
Enough of that. That is nothing more than slander which would desecrate father.
I mean, he's already pretty desecrated, all things considered. Tell us something, Natsuhi. I think even you agree that this is no time to hide things from each other.
It's a worthless story. Father made massive donations to an orphanage and had the orphans employed as servants of the head family to give them some on-the-job experience. The story in question is simply some drivel spread by fools who claim that father was using those orphans for some filthy hobby.
Oh, I don't like the sound of that.
For a while, some guys even said he was collecting human sacrifices for his black magic.
Don't like the sound of that.
And he really is doing weird experiments and ceremonies in this rooms all the time, so I half believed it myself. Which would you prefer? Him doing those or doing the experiments? Which is worse?
How about doing your mom, doing your Any servants who came from the Fukuin house are,
There were several of them, but Shannon and Cannon were the two scheduled during the family conference shift.
To resurrect Beatrice, he brought in the servants from an orphanage as human sacrifices?
After all, grandfather selected a servant. After all, everyone grandfather selected as a servant was young, about the same age as Shannon or Kanekun. I was sure it was because grandfather had some bizarre hobby. Don't ask me what, it's 1980s.
Jessica!
Oh shit.
Mind your words.
When Natsuhi scolded her, the atmosphere instantly went sour and everyone fell quiet. However, something was tugging in the back of my mind. Sacrifices. Sacrifice. Human sacrifices brought over from an orphanage. What is it? Freaky words like sacrifices don't pop up often. And yet I've seen or heard that word recently. Some part of my memory is tugging at me. Hey, Beatrice, what do you know? I had arrived in front of the portrait of Beatrice. It was as massive as the one in the entrance hall. But that portrait, which must have been drawn by some famous painter, was as intimidating as the one in a smaller size. Below it, just like the entrance hall, was the epitaph that supposedly hinted at the location of the hidden gold. Sacrifices. Here.
What the hell, Battler? You're creeping me out, man.
6 sacrifices. Both of my eyes opened as wide as plates. Everything's been predicted right there from the very beginning.
Oh,
Everybody
now
crowded around.
that's it.
The same expression of shock rose to all of our faces. That's right. It's right there in the epitaph.
They just now realized this?
They didn't have a notebook.
On the first twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. There's no doubt! 6 people died in the beginning! And on the shutter where the magic circle was drawn. No, the Hebrew was written. It mentioned the offering of sacrifices.
I've been saying that from the beginning.
That's right. Maria said that right at the start.
Damn straight I did.
Right after we found the 6 bodies when Maria was in the parlor watching TV.
See here.
She said it! Ooh, the culprit is inhuman. The sacrifice is chosen by the key. This has nothing to do with the location of the hidden gold. It's the instruction for a resurrection ceremony using black magic or something!
Called it!
After all, this epitaph requires a large number of deaths!
It sure does. Even reading through it quickly, there'd be 6 plus 2 plus 5.
No, 6 plus 2 plus 5.
I did say that.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you said equals 5.
No, 6 plus 2 plus 5.
Anyhow.
Quick maths.
13 people who must die!
How many people are normally on this island?
It changes depending on the shifts for servants, but there's father, my husband, Jessica, and me. And 2 or 3 servants. Today and yesterday there were 5 of them, but there aren't normally that many.
Which means that normally, there would be enough sacrifice to carry out this ceremony. No, wait. Remember their grandfather was collecting servants from an orphanage to be used as sacrifices for some creepy ceremony.
So what does that mean? He increased the number of servants to increase the number of sacrifices, and waited for the annual family conference when even more people would gather? Isn't now the only time in the year this ceremony could be held?
Jessica screamed this, Maria broke out into that creepy laugh, looking truly pleased.
Haven't you ever heard of people making bets to test their fate?
Like throwing a sandal and saying that if it lands right side up, tomorrow will be sunny. And tomorrow will be a good day if a coin lands heads up. They made little superstitions like that. Sometimes when your luck is down and you get bored, and you roll the dice and get 3 sixes, you gotta believe it's a portent of some miracle. Flipping a sandal, you have at worst a 50% chance. Even if you get it right side up, it's not worth much. But if you carelessly roll 3 dice and they'll come up 6, I think that's a small miracle.
Magic works the same way. You must pray earnestly for an extremely unlikely result. Then the feelings from all those stored up prayers gain magical power and become incarnate. Understand? The magic that Grandfather was trying to perform was probably like that. The king randomly selected sacrifices in a lottery. So to reduce the chance that he himself was selected, he chose the day with the greatest number of people on the island to carry out the ceremony.
Ridiculous. Are you saying this entire situation was caused by a mere ceremony for some bizarre black magic?
Not so he yelled. She couldn't quell the fear that a scorpion charm might be the only reason she was still safe.
If I hadn't received that charm from Jessica and hung it on my doorknob, would I have been killed, mixed in along with those 6? And the strangest part is, even though I hung the charm from inside my door, they couldn't get through the door. The culprit noticed the charm from outside the door and gave up trying to open it. A human couldn't have perceived that. A charm meant to stop something that was not human had done exactly that. Impossible. Impossible. Impossible.
But not so, his son. The epitaph certainly does continue to fit, even after that.
Shall I?
You good?
Mm-hmm. Come on.
Huh?
Oh.
Kelly.
Oh.
Oh.
Technical difficulties, I guess.
Technical difficulties. Gotta love it.
Technical
Hawaii
difficulties.
key with me. Get the live. Okay. Second twilight. Those who remain are apart the two who are close. I'm not watching Sports Ball. I'm paying attention. It's just that I mute myself and then have to turn back to the stream in order to my lines.
Just keep going, please.
Also, I'm not done. Could this be talking about Eva-sama and Hideyoshi-sama?
Painful as it may be, we must reach that conclusion. And after the culprit killed them, they left the words from the third twilight in a letter there.
That's right. Here, the second twilight, they left the third twilight in that place. The third twilight was the Ganatsu he just read. The third twilight, those who remain shall praise my noble name. Ah, if you read it that way, it just keeps going on, doesn't it? The fourth twilight, gouge the head and kill. Gouge the head and kill. Yoranaki's parents were killed with those demon ice picks gouged in their heads. They were the second twilight. Someone else must have been gouged in the head. That's grandfather. He was burned in the incinerator, and our eyes were so drawn to the part that we didn't notice. But his forehead, no. His head had been gouged.
Boom. Grandfather was the victim of the fourth twilight? Then Canon-kun was...
On the fifth twilight, gouged a chest and kill. We thought Canon-kun's case was an unexpected counter with the culprit, but that's wrong. From the very beginning, they planned to lure someone out alone and drive something in through their chest.
If the culprit has followed this epitaph this far, does that mean 3 people still have to die?
On the sixth twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. Seventh twilight, gouge the knee and kill. In the eighth twilight, gouge the leg and kill.
Yes, you could read it that way.
Well, I wonder about that. After those 3 die, it reaches the ninth twilight. Take a look. On the ninth twilight, the witch shall revive, and none shall be left alive.
We're all gonna be killed by Beatrice.
I don't get it. Doesn't that mean that everybody dies no matter how many people there are? What was grandfather after? The ceremony would kill him too, no matter what?
It's okay if no one's left alive. On the 10th twilight, we finally arrive at the Golden Land.
The 10th twilight, at journey's end. Obtain the power of the Golden Land's treasures, once and for the last time. The witch shall praise the wise and bestow 4 treasures.
Grandfather wasn't afraid of dying. Look at the second and third of the 4th treasures.
One shall be the resurrection of all the dead souls. One shall be the resurrection of the love that was lost. So grandfather believed he would eventually be revived, even if he died partway through this ceremony?
Ridiculous! That's insane! When you die, it's over, right? The dead don't come back to life. Isn't that a miracle humanity's been chasing after for thousands of years and still haven't accomplished? So is this what that means? Something like you'll be able to meet him in the afterlife, where they'll be restored?
If what you're saying now is right, would that mean grandfather, whose remaining life is slim and has been driven mad by love, is committing suicide? No. A massive forced group suicide?
Genji, is such a thing possible?
I do not know. The Master is a man who sometimes has the wisdom to see 1,000 years into the future. However, there are times when that appears to be nothing more than madness to commoners such as myself.
Okay, should we take that for a yes? What do you say, Kumasawa-san?
I don't know anything. That's right. I don't know. You think I would be on this island today if I did know? I'd have faked an illness or anything to take a day off. That's right.
Huh?
Okay, that's a weird reaction.
Yeah. What about your opinion, Dr. Nanjo? You've been grandfather's friend for many years.
I feel the same way as Genji-san. Kinzo-san was a man who far surpassed ordinary people. I even felt a sort of inhuman power coming from him at times. Even if I don't know what Kinzo-san was thinking when he wrote that epitaph.
All we can say is that even if Father did write the script, someone else is carrying it out.
That's right. At the very least, is another culprit who attacked Grandfather and Canon-kun. Furthermore, that person's still continuing the crimes just as the epitaph says.
The letter in the beginning that we didn't think deeply about. What was it that was written in there?
Back to the recitation of the letter last night. Beatrice had proclaimed something inside of it. She had proclaimed that, and according to the contract with Kinzo, she would collect everything of the Yoshimiya family as interest. Then she also revealed a special clause. To discover the location of the gold Grandfather has hidden, that right would be lost. The letter was read. Grandfather was still alive. But at that time, it had already been sealed with wax by the head's ring. When the Grandfather handed the ring over to Beatrice while he was still alive. To take a straightforward approach. Maybe we should assume that Beatrice is carrying out that strange contract, with Grandfather guaranteeing her that right. In other words, this is the same as saying Grandfather knew of and approved of the contents of that letter. In other words, basically just a joint message from Beatrice and Grandfather. Telling us that Beatrice will start collecting interest if we don't solve the riddle. In other words, the Grandfather and Beatrice are demanding that we try and solve the riddle of the epitaph. And if we couldn't, then the massacre would be carried out according to the epitaph. What does that mean? What do they want? I don't have a clue what it means! I don't get it!
Look, another letter from Beatrice.
Huh? What did you say? Maria's pointing at the top of the table, where the canned food everyone had been eating until just now lay. The Western envelope from Beatrice certainly was sitting there. But so what? Fuck. God damn it.
What the?
And Nancy let out a hysterical cry, looking between her own hand and the table, because the envelope she had just opened was still grasped in her hand. So why is there still an envelope on the table?
Magic! What the hell? What's going on, Maria? Where did that envelope come from?
Magic! Just now, I looked and it was lying there.
Kelly.
I don't know about anything! Anything! I'm low-key sus!
Can we not say
Stop.
that?
I'll
word?
break.
This
I'll
isn't funny!
out.
There's only 8 of us here, and Among Us isn't funny anymore! There's no way some 9th person snuck in. There's enough time during the few seconds that we gathered on this portrait, right? And yet here we are. Oh, hell yeah, wait.
Whoa! Damn, shit's popping off now.
Wait, is this the right version? Please tell me it's the right version. No!
Okay, so do you want to explain about this track?
System Zero, bot by the way. The actual proper version of System Zero literally has lines from Star Trek in it. Like the opening of the song has Data going, believing oneself to be perfect is evidence of a fragile mind.
I will search up one for you guys.
Provide us with a proper version of it. Khan, start yelling.
Alright, hold on, 1 sec.
Yeah, I've already turned into a bot.
Okay. Get back, all of you! Back against the wall.
And Nazi was pointing the rifle at Genji and the others, bellowing at them. Genji's arm was overpowered. His face looking like he didn't have a clue what was going on. Of course, I felt the same. But a few moments later, I reached the same conclusion on Nazi he had. Just a few seconds ago, there had been no letter like this on the table. And nobody entered the room. This means someone among us placed it there during the few seconds when everyone was looking away. Preoccupied with the portrait. Nobody say anything.
Adler, open that envelope and read what's inside.
Sure. I picked it up. It was still sealed with wax. Without disturbing its contents. Whereas this was an as yet unopened envelope. An unknown envelope! With a relying on a paper knife, I tore it open and pulled out the letter inside. The contents were as follows. Are you enjoying the riddle of Kinzo-sama's epitaph? As you're all probably aware, you have very little time remaining. Please abandon any naive hope of escaping after the storm passes. The game can only end with my victory or yours. When time runs out, I will win by default. There will be no ties. Make sure you do not misunderstand your current situation. That's what it says.
It isn't clear who put this letter there. However, I have been able to narrow down the list of suspects. It's you all.
Madam! It's just too horrible.
I just want to keep leaned in for the rest of this part.
Just before I moved towards the portrait, I set a can of food down here. At that time, there wasn't anything strange as a letter sitting there. At that time, Jessica, George, and Battlercon were already in front of the portrait. And they didn't leave the spot in front of the portrait until the letter appeared. So the person who set that letter down is one of you four. Beatrice is here!
We aren't Beatrice! Beatrice exists!
Silence! I don't know whether I should suspect one of you or all of you. But without a doubt, at least one among you is the culprit.
That's right! There can't be a 19th person. There's no way witches exist. Even when Kanon-kun was killed. Yeah, that could be explained if Kumasawa-san was the one who did it. The truth is that Kumasawa-san entered the boiler room with Kanon-kun and killed him. And then she lied, saying he'd already fallen when she got there.
Making a break, milady. Why would I do something like that?
I don't have the slightest idea how my parents were killed in that closed room. But when they were killed, everyone except for the servants had an alibi. The ones who didn't were the servants. But does that really mean it's okay to suspect them?
Yeah, now that you mention it, they have no alibi for any of the cases. Should really be so quick to make that judgment? But this time, in this room, in this place, in this moment, in this minimally small bit of time and space, it's obvious. Only one of the four of them could have set the letter in there in the blind spot. We can't tell who put it there. It's certain that one of the four of them did it.
Not me, son.
What am I doing?
Please calm yourself. I don't know what has happened today. I understand how much strain is on your mind right now.
Dr. Nanjo, truly pains me to call you suspicious. However, you are father's personal doctor and his closest friend. You have been by his side for many years, and you might even know about Beatrice. Could you be hiding some kind of old obligation?
Of course not. Calm yourself.
It was pitiful to watch Dr. Nanjo frantically pleading his innocence. I was probably a more natural reaction than anyone would give if they were suspected. Yeah. Kumasawa was the same. Ever since Jessica voiced suspicion of Kumasawa murdering Cannon, Kumasawa's been totally flustered. That was why Genji's still calm appearance looked so bold. A Nazi pointed the barrel of the gun.
Genji, you were grandfather's #1 subordinate. Was Beatrice an illusion you showed the father, with you as the performer?
If by suspecting me you recognize me as Master's greatest servant, then I count it as a great honor, regardless of the circumstance. However, I am not the one who put the letter there.
Do you expect us to just accept that? You must be the ringleader. Maybe Kumasawa and Dr. Nanjo are your accomplices. And Maria-chan too.
Not content to suspect just the adults, a Nazi pointed the gun relentlessly at Maria, too. Maria acted as though nothing had happened. Maybe she thought she would be fine even if she was shot.
Maria-chan. By this point, we can no longer remove someone from suspicion just because they're young. So for the last time, let me ask the question that everyone's had since last night. Yesterday, who was the Beatrice who handed you that letter? Maria, don't dodge the question! Make it clear! Who gave you that letter?
How many times do I have to tell you? It's Beatrice, the 1,000-year-old golden witch. If you want to know what she looks like, just turn around. See? She's right there. Beatrice is.
Don't mess with us, Maria!
Enough, Jessica! Maria, too! Do you understand the situation? We'd open the game by saying stuff like that. Stop stirring each other up pointlessly.
I don't understand. Who do you all want the culprit to be? You only believe in Beatrice when you don't want to suspect one of your own. When you're trying to settle a grudge because someone who's close to you has been killed, only then do you want to believe in a human you can attack with violence and deny Beatrice. And that's why you can't see her. Beatrice exists. You all can't see her.
Silence! I don't want to label you as the culprit, but there is no longer any doubt that you enjoy making the situation unpleasant and are providing assistance to the enemy.
Then what will you do? Shoot me? I don't mind. Very soon the door to the Golden Land will be opened. Then all the dead will be resurrected. Right now, death is nothing to be afraid of.
Mom, she really is suspicious. We can't keep her with us.
But Anatsui, please calm down. There's no reason to shoot Maria. Please remain composed. The letter was just meant to provoke us, but it's nothing to be afraid of. Even if the culprit is scared of what will happen tomorrow. They're just scared of the police. Right now, this island is free from the reach of the law. That's only because it's isolated by this typhoon. Once the typhoon passes, the law will return. So you mustn't shoot.
How can you stay so calm, George Nissan? One of these four is the culprit. No, maybe all four of them are working together. How can you stay so calm when one of these four might be the culprit who killed your parents?
Even I have the desire to find the culprit and kill them. But that would be simple barbarism. I'll leave the judgment of the crimes to the law. So no matter how suspicious they are, you mustn't pull that trigger.
I feel the same as George Anarchy. Natsuhi, get a hold of yourself for a second. Anyway, it'd be bad to shoot. In times like this, I hear you should tilt your head back and say, "Stay cool," 3 times.
Let me make this clear. Witches don't exist. Not on Rokenjima. Not in Yoshiromiya Mansion. I declare it as Yoshiromiya Natsuhi, representative of the Yoshiromiya family. There's no witch here. I won't accept Beatrice. No matter what you're planning, I won't let you wave one finger on my daughter or the rest of them. That's my duty as a mother and as a representative to the family.
Those words were the final words of farewell. That settled everything. Protect your daughter. Natsuhi would regard any suspicious person as an enemy. The only reason George Anarchy and I were standing on this side was because, by coincidence, we had a clear alibi regarding the letter. If I hadn't approached the portrait, I was on the other end of that gun barrel, treated like a criminal. But even though part of me thought that, part of me was thinking that chasing all suspicious people from this room would finally guarantee our safety. Genji-san and Kumasawa-san and Dr. Nanjo, all of them were on grandfather's side. Maybe he said that once Maria started blindly believing in Beatrice, she was also on grandfather's side. That's right. They're all suspicious. Is this really okay? Without all the suspicious ones in such a lawless way, will we still have the right to defy the lawlessness of the witch? Shit's fucked. Nasi didn't tell them to leave with her own words. But with wordless pressure, she induced them to say that themselves. But if Dr. Nanjo didn't say those words, the cold silence would surely continue forever.
Calm yourself, Natsuri-san. Still, I understand your feelings well. I myself feel like there's something wrong with my head after all these strange repeated incidents. So I understand well why you want to suspect us.
If you really have nothing to do with this, then my actions now would be beyond rude. However, please understand, just this once.
Very well. Let's leave the room. What do you say, Genji-san?
Ganji.
The North Wind is...
Ganji-san. Shall we return?
Ganjo.
Yes, Ganjo. Shall we return to the parlor and continue our chess game?
If that is what you wish, by all means.
I don't want to. After all, that means we'll have to leave the room, knowing the wolf is among us, right?
Wolf among us.
Yeah.
I said it.
Yeah, The Wolf Among Us, a game by Telltale, and nothing else.
Everybody watching this stream currently, go and play.
Okay,
The Wolf Among Us. Very good.
continue. Go.
Let's go, let's go.
I don't want to, madam. Please forgive me.
It was obvious what Kumasawa-san was trying to say. If she was innocent, then she'd be injected into a dangerous territory along with the culprit. In the current situation, urging her to leave this room along with the suspects, almost the same as letting her get killed. However, Kumasawa-san really was suspicious just for being the first one to discover that Canon-kun had been murdered. At the time, everyone except Kumasawa-san had an alibi. Looking to prove the existence of some contraption, the existence of some 19th person, Kumasawa-san was by far the most likely suspect. I don't want to believe it. However, Natsu and the rest of us were in such a difficult situation that we couldn't help suspecting her as well. So we didn't want to say anything to stop Natsu from trying to oppressively chase them from the group. We had stopped her from shooting, but we were passively agreeing to chase the others out of the room. On top of that, Maria spoke to the fretful Kumasawa-san.
It's okay. Beatrice is kind to those who respect her. You believe that Beatrice exists. So it'll definitely be okay. I'll watch TV in the parlor. Let's watch it together. It's so boring here without TV.
Looked like Kumasawa found Maria's roguish laugh very frightening. However, the three other people had agreed to leave the room. Kumasawa couldn't fight the flow and had to agree, crying as she went.
Well then, Natsuri-san. That will be all for tonight. Let us meet again tomorrow.
Yes. Please understand, at least for tonight. When the police come, all of us will surely apologize for our rudeness. You may play chess, but do it in a safe place if you can. Genji, I leave them in your hands.
Certainly.
Can't be helped, can it? They always say the most frightening bears are those with their children.
Genji, Kumasawa, my sincere apologies. Let us meet again tomorrow. Maria-chan too. Please forgive your cold aunt.
Oh! I forgive you.
Madam, keys to this room. I will hand both over to you.
Genji-san pulled 2 golden keys from his pocket and handed them to Natsuhi.
And I will also hand over my bundle of keys to the inside of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Took out a bundle of about 10 keys of various shapes and handed it over. To the servants, those keys are probably proof of their position. Being placed in charge of those keys meant they were trusted, relied upon. And if forced to return them, it meant that they had lost their trust. Thinking about it this way, to Genji-san, who had worked here for the span of many years, there could be no greater shame. However, Genji-san's usual indifferent expression remained on his face.
Genji, I had planned that, after Father passed away, I would reward you for your many years of hard work and allow you to retire. To treat you like this makes me feel ashamed from the bottom of my heart.
I have already received the Master's favor. Everything I have done until today has been in repayment for that. Please do not worry over it.
Well then, shall we, everyone? Good night to you all.
Good night. Good night to you too, Mattler.
Ah, Maria. Wait a sec. Knowledge of guilt made me call Maria back. I groped around in my pocket and took out the scorpion keychain. This repels magic, right? Wear it.
Didn't you say you dropped it?
Back then I got ticked off and just bluffed that I'd lost it. There's no way to lose this precious charm you gave me. Maria silently took the charm. I wasn't able to say anything after that.
Well then, everyone, good night to you.
Watch them leave. Our expressions completely worn out. We weren't even able to respond. The door closed and we heard the auto lock. We were unable to breathe. Then we were finally able to take a breath. Then I noticed that Beatrice's letter, which I had been gripping the whole time and which was soaked with my sweat, actually had 2 sheets. Everyone had been tightly stuck together. I particularly thought that there was only one. No characters on the second sheet. Being drawn there was a magic circle written with a red ink like blood. It's like every magic circle up until then had been different. This magic circle was one I never laid eyes on before. Inside the circle, a large triangle and small triangle were fit together into a simple design. As before, there was writing in Hebrew. It seemed clear that it had some kind of meaning. I don't know what it could be. We just chased Maria, the one person who can understand the meaning of magic circles, out of the room. I thought of the magic circle as Beatrice's second message. What does this magic circle mean? Damn it! Chasing out the suspicious people. All we had to do is stay barricaded here until the morning, and everything would probably be over. The typhoon had passed. When the seagulls cry, will everything be resolved? But the letter which unexpectedly appeared in the study forced us to reject that naivety. It made very clear that if time ran out, mean the witch's victory. When time runs out, is the witch planning to take on the offensive? This time, going to display some fearful magic power, something that could still be used to kill 6 adults at once. Wait, when is this supposed to run out anyway? I don't know anything.
With this, we should finally be safe. Finally. Definitely.
Even as she said that, and Natsu couldn't stop gripping that rifle. There was no release in the tension of her expression. Of course, none of us felt like breathing a sigh of relief. At least not until we could hear the cry of the seagulls once more.